My name is Emily Carter, and I grew up in a quiet town in Oregon where nothing dramatic ever seemed to happen. The streets were narrow, the houses were small, and the days passed slowly. I worked part-time at a bookstore and lived with my mother. I spent most evenings alone in my room, writing stories in a notebook I never showed anyone. Writing was the only place where I felt understood. I believed in love, but only from a distance. Love felt like something meant for other people, people braver than me. I was 21 when I met Oliver. I didn't meet him in a cafe or on a street corner. I met him on a screen. One rainy night, while sitting on my bed with my laptop balanced on my knees, I posted a short story on an online literature forum. It was about loneliness and the quiet hope that follows pain. I didn't expect anyone to notice it. When I closed my laptop, I assumed the world would move on without caring. But when I checked again later, there was a comment waiting for me. Your words feel real, like they come from someone who understands silence. The name under the comment was Oliver H. I remember staring at the screen, my heart beating a little faster for no reason I could explain. I replied with a simple thank you. That should have been the end of it, but it wasn't. Oliver replied again the next day, then the day after that. Soon we were talking every night. He told me he lived in York, England. He was 23, studied history, and worked in a small cafe. He loved old buildings, rainy mornings, and quiet conversations. I told him about my town, my bookstore job, and how my father left when I was 12. He listened, really listened. He didn't rush my words or change the subject when things got heavy. One night, he told me his mother died when he was 16. I remember reading that message and feeling my chest tighten. I wanted to reach through the screen and hold his hand. Instead, I typed, "I'm so sorry," and hoped he could feel that I meant it. Days turned into weeks, weeks into months. I started waking up thinking about him. I checked the time difference constantly. When it was morning for me, it was evening for him. Sometimes I stayed awake far too late just to talk to him longer. I told myself it didn't matter, but it did. He became a part of my routine, my comfort, my secret. One night, I typed something without thinking too much. Do you ever feel like you know someone deeply without ever touching them? There was a long pause before he replied. Yes, he wrote, and it scares me how real it feels. That was when I realized I was in love with him. The truth hit me hard. I had never seen him in real life. He lived across the ocean. Loving him felt impossible. But no matter how much I tried to deny it, the feeling stayed. Eventually, he admitted it too. "I think I'm falling in love with you," he wrote one night. I stared at the words, my hands shaking. "I already am," I replied. We video called for the first time soon after. I was nervous, my heart racing as the screen loaded. Then I saw him, his brown eyes, his shy smile, the scar near his eyebrow. He looked tired and kind. He saw me too. I watched his face soften as he smiled. From that moment, everything felt more real and more dangerous. Distance became our enemy. Time zones meant missed calls. Bad days happened when the other was asleep. Sometimes words came out wrong, and we couldn't fix them with a touch or a hug. My mother worried. She told me gently that love through a screen wasn't enough. I defended him. I defended us. But doubt grew quietly inside me. One night, after a long silence between messages, I finally said what I was feeling. "This hurts sometimes," I wrote. "I don't know how to do this." He didn't pretend it was easy. "I don't either, but I don't want to lose you." A few months later, Oliver told me he wanted to meet me, for real. When I read the message, my breath caught. "I want to come to America," he wrote. "I want to see you." Fear and excitement crashed into me at the same time. We planned everything carefully. He saved money. I worked extra hours. We counted days like children waiting for a holiday. When the day finally came, I stood in the airport feeling like my heart might burst. My hands were cold, my stomach twisted. Then I saw him walking toward me. For a moment, we just stared at each other. Then we hugged. He felt real, solid, warm. I cried into his shoulder without meaning to. He held me tightly, and I knew I would never forget that moment. The days we spent together were beautiful and painful. We walked, talked, laughed, and argued. I learned how he took his tea. He learned how I needed quiet when I was overwhelmed. But the goodbye was coming. On the last night, I cried as he held me. "I don't know how to do this again," I whispered. He didn't have an answer. When he left, something inside me broke. After that, distance felt unbearable. Messages weren't enough anymore. We argued more. We were tired, hurt. One night, after hours of silence, I said the words I never wanted to say. "Maybe love isn't enough." He closed his eyes on the screen. I saw the pain in his face. "Maybe not," he said. We ended things quietly. No shouting, no anger, just heartbreak. The months after were empty. I stopped writing. I stopped hoping. I moved forward, but without joy. A year later, I received a message. "I'm moving to New York," he wrote, "for school." My heart raced. We met again, older, calmer, wiser. We talked honestly this time, about fear, about mistakes, about love that never truly left. "I never stopped loving you," I told him. "Neither did I," he said. This time, we chose patience. Now I stand beside him in England, years later, holding his hand. Our journey was painful, long, uncertain. But love crossed an ocean, and so did I.